So I've been thinking on how to do this video for a little bit. Someone asked me about it, I think on X or Twitter or whatever you're supposed to call it nowadays. And then I thought, like, is this really something that I should answer? Like, why, who should have won the election? But then I realized, like, I did do that video on Trump versus Harris, who I closely relate to. So I figured, yes, I am like around the every kind of Midwestern basic guy. So I thought, hey, maybe I can provide some insight. And I'm not going to get into who I voted for personally. What actually happened during the election day is I was so excited for a measure, a ballot measure that would increase the tax rate for our forests. So Illinois does have like a ton of like county forests. The county I'm in had a initiative to increase the taxes so it can purchase an additional 250 acres of land, and then they were going to build like bike paths so that way everything is like connected. And I thought, heck yeah, that's exciting. I vote yes. The county passed it, so we're getting some nice bike lanes. That's what I was excited for. I didn't care as much about the who's the president as I cared more about, like, you know, that, because that's going to be affecting my everyday life. I like biking, even though I'm morbidly obese. I suck at it, but a way for me to kind of bike to each and every park would be great. So that's what excited me that night. And then the whole election came and went, and I was not surprised at all. I had pretty much, I wouldn't say zero confidence. I had like 20% confidence that Harris would have won. And that's because, again, I'm around usually people who are, you know, mostly liberal, mostly conservative, but most of us are kind of more like in the middle. So, and this is why I'm going to say why I think the internet was shocked that Trump won. And I think the biggest reason is because you guys are stuck in your echo chamber. Like, I go on Reddit. I'm a big Redditor. I don't go at all to any of like the politics subreddits or anything like that because I feel like most of them are full of kids who don't understand how the world works. And that's so easy to say because I was like 20 years old. I thought the world worked. You know, I was 20 years old. I thought Bernie was the best. And then I kind of, you know, grew up and I realized, okay, this is the criticisms of him. And I kind of agree with the criticisms. I still think he's a genuine person. I think he wants the best. I think he should have been, you know, voted in much rather than the other person. But again, I don't want to get too much into that. But yeah, I do understand. And I feel like that the fact that it was such a shock to the internet just kind of proved that how young everyone in the internet is and just how kind of stuck everyone is in their echo chamber. Like, I am 31 years old. Like, I'm ancient when it comes to the internet. Like, there's not that many. Think about all the YouTubers, you know. Who of them are over 40? Let's see, there's Papa Meat, which I know who's super popular. The Vlog Brothers, who's been in there for a while. And then all, like, the science and nature YouTubers I watch are over 40. But, like, they're not the ones that most people are watching. They're watching a lot more Mr. Beast and all these other videos that are more popular. They're going to be more towards older people. So I feel like young people, the worst thing I think that young people do is not surround themselves with some people who are older. And that's something that I've done is like when my career as a developer, I was able to get in touch with a lot of people who are older. I was the youngest person on my team. The second oldest person on my team was 40. And the oldest person on my team was in their 70s. But we still got along. We had different opinions on politics. But then you kind of get the idea of, oh, this is what the older crowd's thinking. You can extrapolate that. Understand that most people, the average age of Americans, almost 40, and extrapolate that to the population. So that's one thing I would say is get out of your echo chamber, get off of Reddit, see the conservative side, and understand why they're voting the way they are. And I did talk about a little bit of my political views in the last video of Harris versus Trump. I basically said that, hey, I'm someone who's live and let live. I think that you should be able to live your life however you want. But at the end of the day, like, the prices of groceries and stuff like that is way more important to me. How we balance the budget is way more important than certain people's rights or anything like that. And that's horrible to say. I know that's horrible, but what affects most people? Gas prices, grocery prices, that affects everybody in America versus like these small little things which affect like 3-4% of Americans, of which, you know, there's not a whole lot of them in the rural community, which is why the rural community mostly votes in their best interests and votes more Republican. And why people in more Democratic cities, they vote more Democratic because they know people who are trans. And again, I do believe that we should support people's rights like that. But I do understand that that comes after we solve issues with the economy. Which, you know, again, the biggest issue I think is that we have a two-party system where one person's this, the other person's the exact opposite of that. And there's just no one who kind of fits perfectly in the middle. And, you know, even if there was someone who fits perfectly in the middle, someone who aligns with my views, that's not going to align with everybody's views. You know, I understand that I'm a 30-something, grew up in a super liberal area, who's an atheist, who is white, mostly white, you know, quarter black, which, you know, I don't really have much connection to any community like that, so I just say white. So, like, and I'm, you know, on the spectrum, like, the person who I'm going to relate to is going to be completely different than someone who is born Asian, you know, is severely Buddhist, who, you know, has very different, more conservative beliefs or super liberal beliefs. You know, we all have these different belief systems, and the main issue is that none of these politicians really kind of connect with our beliefs. So for me, I see why Trump won. Trump won because he can connect with the rural community, and most of the rural community does kind of think of him as like a bad person. Like, they don't think he's the best person for the job, but he's the one who won. At the end of the day, you know. And then another thing I would want to point out is that most people didn't vote. Like, there was a chart that I saw where it's like, what is most American? Is most Americans Republican? Are most Americans Democratic? And it turns out most people don't even vote. Like, I mean, I know I didn't vote till a couple of years ago, because why did it matter? I didn't vote in the last election because I was young and dumb, and I didn't realize how important politics were to the local community in my life. Again, that ballot measure was important, and it helped locally, and it was something that will affect my daily lives. What happens in Washington and stuff does not really affect my daily life. It may affect those other people's daily lives, but not as much as, say, a local election, which is why I care about that. You know, I care about the forest of the local community because I'm going to be seeing that forests. Yes, the global politicians and stuff like that will affect my forests, the local forest, eventually through, like, pollution and stuff. But, you know, I voted the way I voted because I do believe at the end of the day that we need to have people need to be who they are and express themselves, but we also need to remain so much more economically strong. Like, it was a tough choice, I think, for me and a lot of Americans. But if you are surprised about this election, like, I well, I wasn't surprised at all. I know so many people who were Trump voters. And that's just one more thing I want to point out is that so many people were confused looking at the poll that the younger generation was more Republican. Obviously, the younger generation went from 18 to 30. I'm 31, so I just barely cut off that. But I know a lot of friends who are way more conservative than like, you know, a lot of the older millennials or even the super younger millennials, you know, people who are 27, 28, 29, they are way more conservative than those who are 18, 19, and way more conservative than those who are 40, 41, 42. So, and again, that's in my bubble. I'm also in an echo chamber, but I always try to read other news, read why, you know, hardcore socialists want to do this, why super hardcore leftist people want to do that. And, you know, I'm just sitting here chilling in the middle. And there's this whole stupid thing where it's like enlightened centralism, but like most people are going to be in the middle. The fact that if you're against that just means that you're kind of not that intelligent. You're more chronically online. So that's what I'm saying. If you were surprised by the election, get off online, meet people in real life, and just connect with people. Some of the crazy things that I'm reading online is this whole like 4B movement, which I know it's going to be a vast minority of people. Like I think Trump won with white women anyways. So, you know, and white women are probably the majority of the people in my community. Again, more of the ruralish part of Illinois. So, you know, that's kind of what I'm going to be dealing with. So the whole 4B movement is not going to matter to people like me. But if you are against this administration, if you are against this, understand why the other side voted for them and go ahead and get into politics. Like, we need people who are younger, who have the energy to start getting in there, get out there and become part of politics. The crazy thing is, like, look at the younger folks. Like J.D. Vance, he's pretty young. He's in his 40s. I think he's a millennial, but he won for the Republican, and a lot of the younger people are Republican. Like, I'm looking at, like, the ballot measures in Illinois, and the crazy thing is, like, there was, like, the 73-year-old person who won because she was Democratic, but the Republican candidate was in their 30s. Like, I think young people really need to start stepping up and start getting in there, start getting into politics, and challenging your opinions and beliefs. And again, I am the most milquetoast, baby, middle of the road type of person when it comes to politics. You know, I am probably the average Midwestern person. I'm like, I don't want to pay a lot of taxes, but I also don't want to have, like, restrict people's freedom. So, like, who do I vote for? The party that's going to cut taxes are also the party that's going to restrict freedom, and the people who are restricting freedom are also the one who, you know, raising taxes, and they're restricting freedoms in different ways. Like, you know, I own guns. I believe everyone should own guns. You know, I think I think Illinois is dumb to have that whole assault rifle ban. Like, everyone in America should have a gun to protect themselves from any sort of bad thing that would happen, whether it's nature, whether like a bear, not that we have a lot of bears in Illinois, but like a bear or a wolf or a fox. You know, if I start having my chickens and a fox comes in, I should be able to shoot the fox. Like, that's our right to protect our property, our land, and our animals. And again, this is something that's much more rural, suburban, that type of thing. You know, you don't really have to worry about chickens and foxes in the city. But again, I'm stuck in my own echo chamber. That's something I realize. I'm stuck in the echo chamber of the more of the ruralish Chicago, Illinois echo chamber. That is why I'm not surprised that Trump won. But if Harris won, I would have been surprised. So, you know, I don't know what this video is more rambling on about. You know, someone asked me a question. I say I always do a video on if someone asks me it. So I decided to give a video. I'm not saying who I voted for, but I did vote for someone who I think is going to help the country. And I think both sides want to help to help the country. I don't think Trump is evil. I don't think he's Hitler or anything like that. Like people say like, oh, he's Hitler, he's a rapist and all this other crazy things when, I mean, he was never convicted of, the action. So, he is a felon, but like, a lot of people can wave that away as like, oh, he's a political felon for New York. So, yeah, I'm not surprised, but honestly, just keep on moving. If you are worried or self-doubt or anything like that, then focus on the improvement part. Do all these different challenges. Like one thing I saw last time this happened was this guy. I listened to the Comedy Button. He lost so much weight because he said, like, I feel like I didn't have the control of that area, so he controlled his life. And I believe that if you are feeling that way, then do that. You can have the energy, take your energy out on the frustration to losing weight, to getting out there, to improving yourself, and then jumping into politics. Be the change you want to see. And who knows? If you're a great voice, other people will vote for you, and eventually you could be the one to become the 30th, the 50th, or not 30th, the 50th or 51st president. So, who knows? But yeah, that's just my thoughts. Am I bummed out? No, I'm just excited for this to be over so we can continue on our lives.